Hello everyone, VIP Internet Stable here with, of course, one of our VIP trainers, Cory Stratton. Now, before we get into all the 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds you have for us, let's kind of recap that 2025 season. You had your highest earning year to date with over $4 million in earnings. You were top 10 there in wins. And not only that, I think probably your best moment of 2025 was becoming a dad.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a great year. Everything was going as good as it could. No complaints. You know, definitely, like you said, topping it off with becoming a dad was the #1 thing.
Now, I came here and I've noticed that you have quite the operation here with 75 horses.
Yeah.
How do you manage becoming a dad and managing an operation like this?
My wife, she gets everything going. She's the oil for sure. Without her, I'd be lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Vicky being a huge part of this operation. Have to give a shout out and kudos
For sure.
to her. Now, you have 16 horses, it looks like, here for VIP between 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and aged horses. We're going to start off with our 2-year-olds that you have for us. Kofax, this was a $40,000 Lexington purchase. This is a back of the neck, 2-year-old colt trotter. Kind of tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's really nice. You know, he's a little bit of a handful starting off. It took a lot of people to break him. He was dragging us around the track the first few days, but he's calmed down nice. He trots beautiful. He's got all the speed and ability. You know, I couldn't be happier with where he's at right now.
So we were watching him train a little bit today. I noticed there was a couple of miscues there. Kind of talk about what happened and why those miscues occurred.
Yeah, so the first trip, the water truck was out and there was all kinds of, you know, distractions going on. I had a horse on the front that was pulling up a little bit, and the one behind me kind of ran up on me, and he ran up on the other one. So as you can see, the second trip, though, everything was perfect. So
now kind of talk about when you're dealing with things like the water truck and new things that a 2-year-old is experiencing. What do you kind of do to kind of help them get used to those kind of things?
Yeah, so you just bring them out there more often when it's, you know, we always try to break the babies when the water truck and tractor are out to get them used to it. Obviously it's different when they're training as opposed to just jogging, but you know, you won't have to deal with it in the races. So
talk about a little bit about this track surface here. Have you, due to the cold weather and things, have you missed any days, or have you kind of been right on track with everybody?
We've been right on track. Mark's done a great job with the track. No complaints. You know, if something's wrong, you talk to him, he usually fixes it up. So
we're going to move on to Pin Hunter. This was a $20,000 Goshen purchase. Now, you've had some success at those Goshen sales. We'll talk a little bit more about that one later. But this is a 2-year-old filly pacer. It's a Huntsville. Kind of tell me a little bit about her.
Yeah, she's hasn't done much wrong. She does everything that we ask. She's not the best on the front. She really likes to follow. She's a little bit aggressive. We got to calm her down just a little bit, but with experience and time, she'll be fine.
When you're talking about that aggression early on, what are some things that you do to kind of help with that?
You can change their bridles. You put mini bits on them, ear hoods. You know, we like to keep the babies as quiet as possible. We don't want runaway horses. Makes it hard for the drivers to rate them in a mile, or, you know, you don't want one that necessarily has to be on the front every week as well. You know, it's nice for one to be able to go to the lead, but you know, that's not really what you want with a baby.
And you're trying to teach them versatility, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Between being on the front, sitting the 2-hole, kind of what is your method when it comes to training them down and to make them be able to have that versatility?
Yeah, so we rotate. You know, we try not to put the same horse on the lead every time. Usually the sets stay the same, so every 2 or 3 weeks, that horse will be on the lead. We train twice a week, so usually each time, you know, we'll do the same order of the sets and, you know, the same horse on the lead, and then we'll rotate it the following week.
Speaking of training, I noticed you guys are doing some double headers today. It's kind of something I've been seeing a lot more recently. Kind of talk about your reasoning behind the double headers and the benefits of it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically the same as going 2 trips. It's just a little more time consuming. 2 trips is, you know, it can take a long time to have a lot of horses to do it. We'll start going 2 trips now that we're going to go on the race bike starting next week. But yeah, just you're building their stamina and their agility.
All right, so we're going to move on here to She Stings Twice. This is a $22,000 Harrisburg purchase. This is also a 2-year-old filly pacer.
Yeah, so she's the one that was actually pulling up on the front in the first trip. We came in, we made a couple adjustments. The second trip, she did make a break in the same spot. a lot of it's attitude, but the motor is there. I mean, after she made a break, she got back pacing, and she came a quarter in 28 seconds in the jog cart. So she's got all kinds of ability. It's just if her mind's going to be there or not.
You came up here, you made some changes. One of them being adding vet wrap for the first time. Kind of talk to me why you did that. Was she running down, or was it help to widen her gait a little bit?
Just to widen her out. Like going into the turn, she crossfires a little bit. So
Okay.
just to try to widen her out behind. It's not as aggressive as brace bandages. So we always start with vet wrap. We actually race a lot of horses with vet wrap behind, just as a precaution. You know, especially racing on a half, you don't want them crossfiring when they're going the last quarter.
Kind of in a sense just to protect them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you were talking about she keeps making a break in the same spot. Could it possibly, is she looking at something, or is it just, like you said, an attitude problem?
I believe it's just attitude. I don't know for sure. Like we haven't put a shadow roller on her or anything to try. We started with the vet wrap today, and she was better. Like she did make a break in the same spot, but then you know, once I yelled at her and got after her a little bit, she was flying. So I think she'll continue to get over it.
Continue to improve.
Yeah.
Now, with the 3 2-year-olds that you have for us, kind of go through what your goals are for them, for each of them in 2026. What are some of their staking obligations?
Yeah, so Kofax we've kept eligible to a lot because we've been high on him. Pin Hunter is basically just New York Sire Stakes. You know, there's enough money to be made there, and she's in the Big Apple as well. And She Stings Twice is Jersey and Mass. So we basically kept her into that. We a couple big races as well, but you know, we shoot for just making it to the races to start, and then you know, well, we like to stay eligible to a couple big ones, but mostly Sire Stakes is the main goal.
Alrighty, now we're going to move on to our 3-year-olds here. Going to start off with Dear Ophelia, unraced last year, qualified twice. But you initially weren't the trainer on this one. It was Nancy Tactor. How did you acquire? How did you acquire her?
We bought her on gate maybe 2 or 3 months ago. She has a lot of ability. She's just very quirky. We're still working her out. We trained her in 210 the other day, and she was perfect. But she's still not 100% bomb proof yet. So you know, the ability's there. It's just if same thing, if her mind is going to be there or not.
Kind of going back to that a little bit, is there some things that you're kind of doing to help with her mind and her attitude?
We're just constantly changing equipment. She follows a horse very well. She's not really good by herself, but that's fine. Again, in a race, she won't be by herself anyway. So,
right.
You know, we just keep working, keep changing things.
We're going to move on here to Delightful Diva. Now had 9 starts last year, racing that New York Excelsior Series. Is qualified, racing that White Series, was 4th. Kind of talk about her progression from 2 to 3 to now.
Yeah, she's probably been the biggest improvement from 2 to 3. She was very kind of small and overweight last year. She's tucked up pretty good now. You know, she's going to be an Excelsior horse for sure. The Weiss has been a little bit too tough for her, but she's coming her last quarters in 27, which is very good for her considering last year I don't know if she came home faster than 30. So we're going to bring her up to Plain Ridge and race her in non-winners of 1 and 2 up there until the Excelsior starts.
Has there been any equipment changes from her from 2 to 3?
Actually, no. She has pretty much the same exact stuff on. Really hasn't been any need to change. Training down, she's been awesome. So eventually we'll switch from the blind bridle and put blinkers on her. But for right now, we'll just keep what she has on.
All right. Going to move on here to overalls. You know, hit the board in 4 of 7, made over 143,000 last year. Kind of one of the many standouts, I should say,
for sure.
In the Cory Stratton barn.
Yeah, she had an amazing year last year. You know, she just didn't finish her miles towards the end of the year, and we were hoping just time off would help her. You know, I haven't been happy with her yet this year, qualifying and her first start. We're actually going to dynamic scope her possibly on Friday. That's where the vet will put a scope in her as she's training to see if she's flipping her palate or any abnormal breathing issues. So hopefully that'll tell us something. That'll give us a true test whether she needs a throat surgery or if it's just rigging or what's going on. We've scoped her, we've pulled bloods, everything's been normal. We're just trying to figure out how to get the last quarter out of her now.
Now we're going to move on to SC. That's my wife. Raced in the New York Excelsior Series. Did okay. Has been racing in the Weiss, but seems like there's been some tough competition
Yeah,
there too.
same, pretty much the same exact story as Delightful Diva. She's improved tremendously from last year. Her gait is perfect this year. Last year she was a little bit tough to handle, tough to drive. She'd get a little hot, and every now and then she'd make a break behind the gate. But she's gotten a little taller. She's still not very big, but her mind is better this year. She's been as solid as could be. It's just the Weiss is too tough for her. Like, she's not going to go 55.
So what are your plans for her? Kind of just put her in
She'll go up the
non-winners
Plain
one?
Ridge as well.
Okay.
And non-winners 1 and 2 until the Excelsior starts.
So now we're going to move on to, we're going to touch on just two of the aged horses
Okay.
here. Talking about A Chance of Lightning. I was talking to your wife a little bit earlier. At 2 she was kind of a little bit spicy, if you will.
She you can't put her right up on the gate, but she's got a mind of her own. I mean, she's razor sharp right now. She's racing better than ever. But I give credit to my wife on her. She's, from the first time we ever trained her, that was her favorite, and she's overcome a lot of things. She's only this big, and she's got a mind of her own for sure.
But she's little, but she's mighty, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm thinking about that New York Excelsior Series last year. Honestly, I think she kind of got locked in with nowhere to go.
If she could have got to the outside, I think she would have won the final. The passing lane she runs out, so it's kind of tough to get her in the passing lane, and the horse on the front was stopping, so she had no momentum. I'm sure if we could do it again, Jordan would have just kept her on the front and probably would have won. So.
But now she's kind of an aged horse now and has had 3 wins in a row so far.
Yeah. It's helped. She's had good post positions. She got the lead, which she really loves, and I mean, she's as good as ever right now. So.
Going to move on, of course, to the last but certainly not least for VIP, and that is what Stanley got. One on Monday, right?
Yep.
And when I was talking to Vicky about him as well, you kind of. What he's become was beyond your expectations.
Yeah, he was kind of a throw-in when we brought him over. He was a cheap horse. He's not supposed to be as good as he is. He tries his heart out. He loves his job. Vicky's pet. He really surprised me. That first start here, he won in, I think, 50 or 51 out of the 10 hole at the Meadowlands with me driving, and from there he was in the Borgata. I think he was 4th in the final 2 years ago in the Borgata. He's very dependable. The only thing he doesn't like is racing in the rain. He hates racing in the rain for some reason. He ties up sometimes in the rain, so if it's not raining, he's gonna race his all. So.
What I find really interesting, as I was talking to her and you off camera about him, was that he really doesn't like to train either.
No, we don't train him. 2 weeks ago, before he won his numbers of 10,000 there, that was the first time I trained him in probably like 5 months. So we kind of just let him do what he wants. He jogs easy. His caretaker, or not his caretaker, but his second trainer, Elmer, jogs him, keeps him quiet. Otherwise, he gets a little hot, and he's done a great job taking care of him.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we're catching up with you real soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.